Today we're going to be talking about how to make the most pretty much out of your KOs, the best setups to have with the KOs, like basically who to put your KOs on if you're running like a Tampa 2, a cover 4, cover 3. We're even going to talk about some man coverage and basically just like who to have them on. For example, like what KOs should you have on your free safety, your strong safety, your outside corners, and all that stuff for each of these. So we're gonna go over like each of the coverages and really kind of break the whole thing down. Coverages that I mostly run Tampa 2 and cover 4. Those are the things that I really run the most. I don't really do that much cover 3, and if I do, it's like a crazy hybrid. And I obviously I run man sometimes, but I don't really do it a lot because I don't run man KOs. I run zone KOs. Whatever type of KOs you have on, you really just want to make the most of it. So first, before we even go over this whole thing, I'm gonna show you what KOs I'm running, and I'm gonna kind of explain how I do mine, and then we're gonna kind of go into the basics of if you run a Tampa 2, cover 4, cover 3, and man to man and all that stuff. This is how I run my defense. On my free safety, I got deep out zone. On my strong safety, I got deep in zone, and both of my outside corners, Slay and Asante Samuel, they have deep out zone. And that's pretty much all the KOs I have. Now, if I could add anything to this, the only thing I would probably add is some pick artists, or maybe a flat zone KO on my slot corner. But besides that, that's all I need for how I run my defense. Like I said, I run a Tampa 2 and a cover 4 type defense. So basically 2 safety shell in a nutshell. That's what I run. Now we're going to be talking about other stuff. So if you run like Tampa 2, cover 3, cover 4, and just that stuff, like what KO should you have on and who you should basically have them on. First coverage we're going to start off with is Tampa 2. Tampa 2 is basically you got both the outside corners on the cloud flash, both the safeties are on outside thirds. You got the hook curls on your slot corner, your linebacker, and all that stuff. You know what Tampa 2 is, right? So if you're running a Tampa 2 style defense, on both of your safeties, what you're going to want to have is deep out zone. You're going to want to have deep out zone on both of your safeties, not deep in, deep out zone. So make sure you got some safeties to get that. I have Brian Dawkins. It's not discounted for 2 AP. He gets it for 3 AP. So I run an Eagle 16 team that I want to use my guys, but realistically, you want to get somebody that gets this for like 2 AP. So for your outside corners, you're actually going to want to put on flat zone KO for them now. Asante Samuel, he gets it for 1 AP. There's a bunch of guys that actually get this. Well, I don't know. I don't want to say a bunch, but there's probably a decent amount of corners that get flat zone for 1 AP. There probably is a decent amount because it's only like, I think it's only like normally a 2 AP ability. So yeah, go get you some flat zones on your outside corners. So basically, I don't remember the depth flat zones play at, but I want to say they go to like 15, maybe close to, I don't know about 20 yards, but I know they go to like 15 yards. If you're running Tampa 2, the whole point of this is you're really trying to bait the offense, right? You got your corners on these cloud fast that are playing kind of low to medium level, and then you got the safeties over the top that's why they got the deep out zone. So when the receiver goes by the cloud flat, they could be there with the deep out KO to break that up, and the corners can have the flat zone KO to break up everything else underneath. So that's why the outside corners you want to have flat zone KO. Like I said, for the Tampa 2, your free safety, strong safety, deep out zone, your cornerback 1 and your cornerback 2, you're gonna want to run flat zone KO. And for your slot corner, it's kind of up to you what you want to do with them, because for me personally, so I have nothing on my slot corner. Well, one, because I don't have any more AP left. Well, actually I could if I just got another 0 AP lurk cards, but the slot, for me, like how I use my slot corner, I do a lot of different things with my slot corner. My slot corner is a lot of times getting blitzed, manned up, or he's on a curl flat. Those are usually the 3 things my slot corner's on. Sometimes he might be on a hook curl, but I usually don't really do that. He's either getting blitzed, manned up, or on a curl flat. So in my opinion, I think the best thing to do with your slot corner, I think, is just get like a 0 AP pick artist or something like that and just throw that on in the slot, in my opinion. But if you really want to have another KO out there, then I would go to flat zone KO. Sometimes what it's nice to do in Tampa 2 is, for example, let's say you want to raise your cloud flat to maybe like 20 yards, 25, or just, put your cloud flat at a higher depth. That's the outside corner, right? You could have your slot corner on something shorter, like a 0 yard or a 5 yard, or maybe even a 10 yard, curl flat, and then you could have that flat zone KO that would help them out a little bit. But me personally, I'm cool with like just having like pick artists or something on your slot corner. And if you got any extra AP left after putting all these KOs on, honestly, it's really up to you, whatever you want to do. If you want to put some inside stuffs on your D tackles, or just throw on some more pick artists, that's up to you. It really doesn't matter. Inside stuffs would probably be the better option because they're just a luxury to have. And pick artist, I mean, pick artist is nice, but there is times they still drop the picks to it, so it is a little inconsistent. Now we're going to talk about a cover 4 defense. So what kind of KOs you want to run and stuff like that. So last year, how I ran my cover 4 defense, the focal point ability on my safeties was mid-zone KO. I really liked mid-zone KO. Now we're starting to get some guys to get mid-zone KO for 2 AP. Not really a whole lot, but some guys. Now, I'll be honest, I've already tried mid-zone KO this year. I've tried it a couple different times. So having it on both my safeties, I run a lot of cover 4 quarters. And I don't know. In my opinion, I felt like mid-zone KO did not play really well. Now, I've heard other people say they've liked the way mid-zone KO is played. I don't know. For me, I was not the biggest fan of how mid-zone played. Like last year, I liked it a lot. I didn't even use deep end zone last year because that ability was trash. Like mid-zone was like really good. This year, I feel like it's a little flip-flopped. I feel like deep end zone's a lot better than mid-zone KO, but deep end still doesn't work like a mid-zone. Like deep end actually works like they got to be downfield. So I don't know. Let me know if you guys use mid-zone KO. I use it a little bit, and I don't know. I just feel like it wasn't that crazy. The point I'm basically trying to get at is that last year, my safeties, mid-zone KO was the main ability he had. This year for running cover 4, honestly, the way that I run my defense, my KOs basically, I feel like is more of a cover 4 style defense. So the way I have my KO set up, like I said, I do run a little bit of Tampa too, but it's mostly cover 4. How I have my free safety with the deep out zone KO and my strong safety with the deep end zone KO. And the reason why my strong safety has the deep end zone KO, it's not because he doesn't get deep out zone KO. The reason why, at least for me, how I run my defense, my strong safety a lot of times is my safety that gets targeted a lot more in the middle of the field, if that's make any more sense. For example, let's say someone comes out and bunch right, and usually the bunch are going to be on the right side. Obviously, they can flip to the left, all that stuff. But a lot of times, the right side is kind of the main side of the field. Basically, you know, there's going to be a lot of routes where if they're crossing over, you know, to the left, deep in the middle, you know, CJ, I don't know. I just feel like for me, my strong safety gets targeted a lot more in the middle of the field than my free safety. So I'd rather have that deep end zone K on him in the middle, if that makes any sense. But if you honestly just want to rock deep out zone on both the safeties, that's up to you. Now, I definitely wouldn't go and put 2 deep end zones out there. I'm not gonna lie, do not do that. You want to have at least one of your safeties with the deep out zone. The key is for however you're running that cover 4, whichever one of your safeties is usually the one that's just kind of on the sideline outside the numbers, that's the one you want to give the deep out zone to. Another one that's getting targeted a lot more in the middle of the field, give him the deep end zone. Or like I said, just go ahead and put deep out zone on both of them. Because honestly, even if you're putting like a 20-yard, 25, 30-yard cloud flat out there, like with your cover 4 or whatever, deep out zone KO is going to work on it. Just because you don't have one in deep blue doesn't mean deep out zone's not going to work. It's all about the yardage depth. So if he gets like that 20 yards and past that, deep out zone's gonna work. So let's say you just want to put him like on a 20-yard cloud flat and then have, you know, the quarter or whatever behind it with the deep out zone, like you could do that. I don't even think we talked about the corners yet, but in cover 4 you absolutely have to have deep out zone KO on both your outside corners. If I didn't say it already, I honestly don't remember if I did, but yeah, you want to have essentially, like, if you want, you could just go 4 deep out zones basically on both the safeties, both the outside corners, or you could have one of your safeties with the deep end zone KO. And once again, with the slide corner, it's up to you. If you want to go flat zone for 1 AP, you can. Or if you want to go with a pick artist, you could go with that. For you guys that run cover 3, now, like I said, I don't really run a lot of cover 3 myself. If I do, it's turned into like a very hybrid cover 3. Like, because I always come out at my 2 safety shell just because I want to be able to disguise everything I do. I feel like if I ever just come out with 1 safety high, it's just such a, you know, give or tell like what I'm doing. You can only really make so many adjustments like when you go to cover. Like if I come out with that 2 safety shell, I can make any adjustment on the field. If I come out in that 1 safety shell, like just 1 safety high, it limits some of the adjustments you could do out of it also, and like the disguises and stuff, because you want to trick the offense. You want to get to the line and have them thinking, okay, what is he gonna do this play? With cover 3, it's like I said, it's only so much you can do. So for the KOs you basically want to run for this cover 3, usually in cover 3, your strong safety is he's gonna be the single high safety in the middle. So for him, you absolutely want to have deep end zone KO for him. And for the other safety, There's honestly a lot you could do with him, because this is basically your safety that's you know, coming down. He might already be in the box, or he's already like coming downhill. For this safety, you could actually really just go with a flat zone KO. It's not, you know, it's really weird to see it like this. You know, if you're running like a hardcore cover 3, but that's what you would run in one. You would want to run a flat zone KO on your free safety, and then both your outside corners, you already know you're running deep out zone KO on him. And if you're slide corner, pick artist, or you know, you could go some type of flat zone. Basically, pick artist or flat zone KOs for the slot pretty much every time. Now we're going to talk about man KOs. We haven't really talked about man KOs a whole lot. Now, you don't really see like a lot of people running crazy man KOs. One, because we haven't really got that many man KO discounts, even though now we actually are starting to get a lot. But there's two different kind of types of way to run your man. If you're like a guy that's doing a lot of pressing, shading underneath, and getting real aggressive at the line. And then there's also kind of not where they're backed off, but basically where they're not getting pressed, but they're, you know, they're running with them hip to hip. Basically shade up top. I don't know why I didn't just say that, but there's two different types of man: shade underneath man or shade up top man. So if you're actually doing a man coverage where you're doing a lot of shading underneath, pressing these guys hardcore, for one, you want to make sure your safeties are up top at all times. That's one. And then two, what I would actually go with for your outside corners and also your slot corner, because you know this ain't zone, so everyone's gonna be manned up. I would actually go a medium route KO. This is for your outside corners, slot corners. This is if you're pressing hardcore, and you know, obviously you gotta have those safeties back deep because these guys will get beat. But you want to go a medium route KO just because you're not gonna have to worry about the deep ball because you're gonna have your safeties back deep, and basically, you know, it's just gonna be really annoying because I think medium route is kind of like 15-20 yard range, something like that. I know it's not going past 20, but it's like, you know, that 15-18 yard range. And you know, if these guys are already on their hip like that, that medium route KO is gonna knock that thing right out, as long as you're pressing them hardcore. So it's gonna be tough for guys to get over. If you're doing like a shade up style of man coverage, basically where, you know, they're not getting those crazy jams, they're just kind of like, you know how shade up is, right? I can't explain it. You want to run deep route KO on this, just because for this, if you're running this style of man coverage, you don't really need your safeties like basically helping the corner up top every time. You know what I mean? If he manages to get ran by just a little bit, have that deep route KO, and he'll break the pass up. It's almost like a, you know, a deep out zone KO, because you know outside thirds get ran by sometimes. So the KO kind of helps to make up for that. That's kind of how this deep route KO would work. So it's, you know, you definitely don't want to be jamming like crazy, because, you know, if there's no safety up top and you're jamming like crazy, deep route KO ain't going to bail you out, because these guys are going to get burnt. So for your safeties, if you're running shade underneath man, crazy jams, like you said, the medium route KOs and stuff, you're going to have to run deep out zone KO on these safeties. Absolutely. If you're doing shade up man, honestly, you kind of have freedom to really do whatever you want with them if you're running the deep route KOs. For the shade up man with your safeties, honestly, you could probably do something like maybe deep in zone KO on a strong safety, and then maybe deep out zone KO on a free safety. Maybe something like that, just because, you know, you can run, you know, there's a lot of different coverages you can do with that stuff, because you already got the deep route KO on the outside. Kind of just have a lot more freedom to do with your safeties with that stuff. Now, like I said, I'm not a big man coverage guy myself. I definitely mix it in here and there, but I'm not like a, you know, die-hard man guy. I've always kind of been a zone guy, so I don't really have as much knowledge to give you about the man as I did the zone. Well, this is just pretty much kind of some of my recommendations I would do with the KOs, kind of, you know, where to put guys and what to put on them, etc, etc. Because some of you guys asked me some of my setups. I kind of pretty much gave you my setup. Now I run nickel normal. You know, if you guys run like dollar and you got the extra slot guy, you know, same thing, like you just put like a pick artist on him or something, or half the time he's getting blitzed anyway, right? If you run like, let's say like, what is it, 6-1 or something like that, that is a little bit different, because you don't have a slot guy. So it's kind of what is it called, it's your it's the outside backers. So I mean, those guys are pretty much treated like slot guys too. If you got like 0 AP lurk artists or stuff like that, just put stuff like that on. But if you guys got any questions about, you know, just defenses, KOs, abilities, etc, you guys can comment them down below. I'll get back to you guys. But that's pretty much gonna do it for this one though, boys. See y'all in the next one.